What's up, everyone? Welcome back to our weekly Q&A. And we are at week 7. And we are following up on episode 4 of season 4.
Yep.
Spoilers ahead for everything that's about to happen. So
Yeah.
if you have not been listening to season 4, probably should not watch this.
Probably not.
If you're not caught up to episode 4 of season 4, you should definitely not watch this.
Yeah. I think every question's a spoiler.
I think the first question is like the biggest spoiler of the episode too. So, all right. I think that's it for the spoiler warning.
Our first question comes from our Patreon. From Walk-ins Dawn. Is Waylon and Jimmy really dead? Like, for real?
Yes. They are dead.
Yeah.
And I think more of the questions after yours is going to really get into that. Dawn is not a social media guy at all. So I think that's really cool that he asked the question actually on the Patreon.
Yeah.
Or as a patron instead of coming to the Facebook or the Twitters and all that. So cool. Yeah, they're dead. Sorry.
We're sad too.
Let's take a moment of silence for Jimmy and Waylon.
So our next question comes from Bill Armentrout. What exactly did Vile do to that man's eyes?
Well, he's a Hydromancer. I don't think we've gone into this in like super like midi-chlorians detail of our story,
haven't.
but just for a little bit. There's necromancers, which raise people from the dead. There's pyromancers that play with elemental fire, and there's hydromancers that play with water elements. And I think that Eddie and Johnny are both. We know that they have the power to manipulate, people's cellular structure, molecular structure, and those kind of things. But we learned when he killed Blackjack and when he killed George Rogers.
Yes.
Both of those guys, he like pulled all the pressure forward and like exploded George's head, and then he pulled all the pressure into Blackjack's eyes and just popped his eyes. What's going on, Waylon? You're like blindly trying to like figure out while Waylon is being choked by Vile, and then he takes his hand and just shoves it into Waylon's chest cavity and holds his heart, talks to him a little bit more, and then just and drops him. Kind of like lets him slide off his arm. It's really visceral. It was very, very, very good job from Miss Christina Ashworth on building that scene.
Yes.
It really brought the writings to life.
And another question from Bill. Was he talking to Lena in his head when he was talking about, I was always meant to kill you?
I don't think he was talking to Lena at that moment in his head.
To her.
I'm pretty sure Eddie Vile here is not crazy. Like at this point, he's no longer trying to grasp reality and all that. I think that was his way of delivering a message in homage to Lena, to Jimmy. Now Jimmy's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? But he did get the first reference, which was, you got to leave with them, because he's like, that wasn't my choice. So you can tell this is probably a conversation they've had before where Jimmy's probably being normal Jimmy, like, fuck you, man. Whatever. It ain't like I chose to be killed by Johnny when you and Lena had y'all's little date in the 70s trying to, we're going to kill me anyway. It wasn't my choice. Like, they've had that conversation before, and I'm sure Vile's like, well, yeah, whatever. But in this moment, Vile's this massive machined monster with their life in his hands, and he just really wants to deliver, you got to leave with them. Like, it just has not left the front of his mind, that kind of thing. And I think he takes that next step further, like, I was always meant to kill you. We just had one amazing detour. Only one person on the planet would know what that means, and that was the intimate moment between Eddie and Lena before Lena's death. So he shares that moment with Jimmy because it fits. They were always meant to kill Jimmy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way it should have went down, but Jimmy got to live this whole life around it. So it's still, in the end, Eddie still claimed Jimmy's life, which I thought was pretty cool. So hopefully that answered your question.
Waylon McKenzie.
Rest in peace.
asks, if Jimmy had been quiet instead of goofing off, ringing the bell and yelling, etc., do you think they still would have met their demise? Yes.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
definitely. It might have went down a little bit differently. I think that Jimmy was very like full of pride in this moment. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this place is real. My contact was straight up. This is gonna work. And then, as they got down into it, Waylon gets more and more precautious. Like something's not right here. And Jimmy's like, "What are you talking about? We're gonna get our own, command. Johnny's gonna be so stoked when we do this." And he's so high on that he's not he realizes, whoa, there is scratches on the pavement. He sets back, but I still think in his head, instead of turning back at that moment, he's like, no, this is worth it.
Yeah.
And then it's so cool that right there before they die, they flip. Jimmy's like, that's not Eddie anymore. And Waylon's like, no, man, we can still save him. So they have the same issue. It's just on different parts of the situation. Yeah, I don't think not ringing the bell or not being a complete ass would have stopped anything. But it probably might have made them a little bit more alert, and maybe it would have kept them on their feet a little more where they could have actually fought them. Because they both, they have powers that we're not completely open or aware to.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have some sort of an anomaly gift, and by Waylon trying to save Eddie in that moment instead of using what powers he may have had, and Jimmy, not, I got you at point blank range, man. Instead of grasping the situation, that this isn't just some normal Havoc unit. I think that's what really screwed them over.
I think so.
Distractions.
All right, Brandon Greer asks, so was Johnny Stitches born special, or did he have to work to be able to mess with the augment? Is it possible he is like Joey and has the augment's protection? And then he also says, I love the Clone War reference where every Templar squad has a Sirenicide member. They are essentially the Jedi.
So, I'll start at the end first. So, if you're not a fan of like Star Wars, basically, the clone troopers that eventually become like what the stormtroopers are modeled off of back in the Clone Wars cartoons, they have a Jedi leading each like major regiment of them as a general. So it's kind of similar to that. That's you kind of pulled that one together. That wasn't where my mind was at. Maybe unconsciously it was, but they. I don't know if every squad of Templar troops is gonna have. I know that was the plan. They're like, we should put one with each one, but you never know. But I kind of like that idea now. So yeah, why not?
We're gonna roll with that now.
I don't know how many like elite Sirenicide members we have though, versus how many actually Templar members there are at this moment. We haven't really dove too far into that. As far as the first part, I can't go into that too much, because you're about to get all of that spelled out as far as Johnny and the augment and his relationship with it. It's coming very soon. 2 episodes.
Just 2.
Yeah, just 2. Just 4, 6. But yeah, stay tuned. We'll talk more about. Ask that question again later.
Yeah.
On like 4-7 or something.
We have another question from Bill Armentrout. Is Johnny Stitches real one? Hinting that Johnny Stitches in the show is a messiah. Is it hubris? LOL. The last one, I'm just messing with you.
Okay. That's pretty good. No, I don't think Johnny is a messiah figure. He's never died, so he can't be the messiah because he hasn't come back from the dead. Joey, I think, would be more of a messiah figure than Johnny. I think that Johnny, up until this point, though, did actually have a lot of hubris and was very, blind and full of himself and his abilities, especially when he was with Doc, that he's untouchable and who cares what these people did as long as they do what I want now. And I think it's really starting to hit him hard that, oops, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I think he just let a lot of Doc's teachings and things like that go to his head and just build his pride and his arrogance. and forgot the man that he was before, and now he's starting to come back to terms to what he was before.
But there are a lot of undertones in this story that are pulled from a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think season 3 ended with a Bible verse, so. All right. Our next question comes from Alberto de Jesus. If Doc intends to take over the stars, he is confirming life outside our scopes. With the other realms, that would not make it so unlikely. But where does that certainty come from? And what makes him so sure he is not bound to find opposition behind what he could imagine? The things outside all of the light in the true dark.
Ooh.
It's a good question. So Doc, I mean, I think at this point with the Dark Elite, I don't know how much he's dived into like what their scopes have found, but I think he realizes that this plane is vast and infinitely unfolding.
Yeah.
Like what he's part of, and he wants to control that, and that's why he was so hell bent on Vima's proposal of like, I can give you a pathway to the stars. So this realm includes everything in our universe. And the epicenter of the anathema is supposedly going to unfold here. That doesn't mean it's the center of the universe by any means. In fact, I think when Malik was sent here, it was very, hey, something's wrong over there, and this pinpoint of this little blue ball, go check this out and figure out what the hell happened here. I don't think heaven and hell are as vast and unfolding. I think that's what makes this realm so special. So I think that there's definitely other life out there. And I'm sure Doc has no idea like what the augment and what other creatures possess what anomaly gifts in other parts of our universe, and neither does anybody, because they're, in our universe, extraterrestrial life has not made like firm contact with as far as public knowledge. It doesn't mean that there haven't been aliens in Morstan. We've just never touched on it. I think that when we talk about the dream realm and stuff, it has like a very alien vibe to it, but that's another world. That also leads to another good part of your question, which is, if he does get to the other realms, how does he know that someone's not just going to bitch slap him as soon as he steps into one of them? He doesn't.
I don't think he cares.
I don't think he does either, though.
I think his curiosity and him being as old as he is, that he just wants more knowledge, more...
I think, yeah, he's vastly confident that he is the best this planet has to offer to the world. So it's time for him to go find his equals or take over the other lesser ones.
Mm-hmm.
Alberto also has one last question. He says he's got a lot. Doc plays it cool, and I love how fucking cool. That's the guy from Creepy. Yeah, John Grills. Mm-hmm. But as cool as he is when he's under pressure, he sure is petty. He says that it reminds him of Kane and the Legacy of Kane games. Kind of that moment where he snaps Raziel's wings. So if you're not familiar with these games, basically there's this guy Kane, and he's like controlling everything, and one of his lieutenant brethren end up like sprouting wings, and he's completely not okay with that and breaks his wings and basically throws the guy into his death. Just because he's like, you're not passing me up.
Can't be better than me.
So, I would say, and he goes into more of that, and Doc reminds me of that, someone who wants to be this omnipotent, oppressant god, but succumbs to just normal petty emotions. Sort of like a parasite mimicking its prey, something expelled. Yeah, basically, the only thing I would say that, just because I'm a huge Legacy of Kane fan, I think anyone that's listened to my Ice episodes and stuff knows that's like my favorite video game series, and a dramatic influence on my writing style. But I do not think that, I don't think that he would feel that way, because if Johnny was a Raziel, then he was like, oh, man, he's too powerful. Let me, destroy it.
Yeah.
Before it passes me up. When he's the exact opposite, he's like, ooh, let's make it more and more powerful, and I'll just, control its brain and tell it what to do, and all these freaking things like that. So, I don't know. I think that he would be more akin to like the Elder God in that game, which is this huge, omnipotent, unseen god that is just trying to manipulate all these powerful beings to his will. I think if I was in his wheel of life and all that. And he would see just Johnny as a big cog in that, keeping that machine going. I think if I was to relate it to the Legacy of Kane universe, but we could talk about Legacy of Kane for like 4 Q&As and literally bore every single person on our platform.
I would totally be interested in that.
It's good. It's good stuff.
And our last question comes from Bill Armentrout. Who was the girl with the angel?
All right, so this one threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
And I think upon re-listening to the episode and reanalyzing the questions and comments from where he asked that online, and if you're curious, we're trying now, just because not everybody does the video format, trying to go in and answer everybody's questions and some comments thread from it. I'm not sure, Bill, and you can correct me, but it sounded like he might have thought Jasmine Flowers was an angel. That's kind of what I pulled from his question. Like, she had some abilities, and I wasn't exactly sure, but Jasmine is not an angel. She was just in the dream realm. And then later on in the episode, Malik and Juliana are having their heart-to-heart, and she says, well, what about the other angels among us? I thought there were some. And just kind of listening, and I'm like, oh, okay, I could see how you could pull someone like Jasmine, and she would just be like, that's why she was able to make it through and those kind of things. But just to clarify, no, Jasmine's not. But Ambrielle is, and I ended up linking that episode. And there are a couple different forms of, just like there's not one type of vampire in our show, which we talked about, I think, in the last Q&A, that we're going to go into more of that. There's 2 types of angels. We have a physical angel that is physically here from heaven, which is Malik. And to our knowledge, he is the only one. And then we've had an ethereal one that can kind of like fade in and out of the realm, that chooses to embody this little girl figure, but to keep it physical, she has to basically consume a ton of our elements, and then that only works for so long before she kind of just goes back into the augment between here and heaven. So that's really what he's referencing, and that joke she makes, Juliana's like, well, are you sure you're not that kind of angel? Because you sure do eat a lot. And that's why she makes that joke at him. And he's like, oh, let's go stop by Dan's on the way home. I'm starving.
That's such a cool scene.
But really, really good scene. Hannah Philibert did the music for this episode, and it really brought that scene to life. It's really a heartfelt scene between 2 characters.
More like siblings, like they were raised together, or that type of thing.
So, and she pretty much clarifies that, she better get a good afterlife because she's been taking care of this angel and keeping him hidden. And that's her power from the augment. So all that was really spelled out in this episode. All right, so that's it for our Q&A. If you want to get your questions on here, you can join our Patreon. Patrons at the $1 level can add their questions to the weekly question thread. And like Walken's Dawn, you'll be our first weekly question. And then we have our master thread on the Scarred Ones group. The quickest way to probably get your question most recognized for this video is to just go on YouTube itself and ask a question. And then we'll go through, because we get alert like, hey, question was asked in this video, and then we can go through and add that to next week's Q&A. But the Patreon questions will take priority over.
Yes, they will.
So, but right now we're just kind of figuring the bearings out on all this stuff. So if you ask your question, more than likely it's going to get answered. If you are viewing this and you're in the immediate Houston area, we'll go over this next week's Q&A as well. But we're going to be at the No Sleep, me and Amy, at the live show Wednesday, October 23rd. I think it's the 23rd. And through the magic of editing, No Sleep's at the White Oak Music Hall. We'll be seeing those guys on October 23rd. So if you're in the area and you're going to go see No Sleep, stop by and say hi to us.
Yeah.
That's it. Bye. All elements of Sirenicide are copyright 2019 by Atrium Dynamics.